Good morning and welcome to PFY Live. Here we are again on a Wednesday. So excited. I know, so excited. So excited to have Michael Hoffman back. So excited that here in Minnesota, it's actually been pretty nice. We're getting some rain showers, just light rain showers, soaking the earth up so those beautiful flowers can come up. It's fantastic over here. Michael, what is it like for you guys? Are you having nicer weather now? And we got past all of the winter blast.
Snowmageddon is behind us and the butt of memory, which is kind of fun because at least we have, we're not ready for it. It just knocks us down and then it's gone in like an hour. So
Yeah.
like, hey, we lived through it. High five, But no, we're back. It's been absolutely gorgeous this last week. Of course, last week I was in Minnesota, Wisconsin. I was doing some events out in Wisconsin, and that was beautiful out there too. But no, the weather's been awesome. A few rain showers just to kind of keep the flowers ready to come up in a month or so.
Yes, absolutely. And still drinking black coffee over there because it's Lent. Oh, even in a dark mug today now. I still kept with my flower, but I actually today, because we're on the tail end of fighting COVID over here at my family. So I'm doing a mixture of a honey lemon tea with some grated ginger in it and some lemon juice. So just helping to stay healthy.
That helps.
Yeah, it helps with all the chest stuff. Yeah. So other than that, we're going to talk about a topic that is kind of a beef of mine. I got to just tell you, it is a real, it's something I kind of prance upon a lot, like meetings. I know people hate them, but part of the reason we hate meetings is because they aren't led well. What would you agree?
Yeah, I don't think people hate meetings. I think we like connecting with each other. I just think we hate unfocused meetings. We hate meetings where after the first 15 minutes you're going, am I supposed to be here? Why are we doing this? They're unstructured, unfocused, I could be doing a lot of other things. People want value. So I don't think we hate meetings. We just hate poor meetings.
There's a point. There's a point right there.
Unnecessary meetings. Yeah.
Right. And I think that as leaders, as leaders, whether you're in youth ministry or church leadership, wherever you are in leadership, I think we can affect how meetings go, how they're led, how we interact in them, whether we're the person actually running the meeting or not, right?
Well, actually, as leaders, I think it's not just in fact, we have to do it on purpose. We've got to really go out of our way to be proactive in creating good meetings. And I love what you said. Even if we're not running them, if you can understand sort of a template of a meeting and what makes a good meeting, you can really impact and help when things get off track. So yeah, approaching meetings on purpose is a big skill set when it comes to groups.
Yeah. And I recently joined a networking group, and of course we're doing everything over Zoom, but I would just want to say as a caveat, anything we are sharing today about meetings can be used both in-person meetings and if we're doing a virtual meeting. So this was a virtual meeting, and it was a group of women who are networking, and it's a pretty new group. Oh my gosh, I tell you, Michael, by the second meeting, I was like, I either have to stop going to the meetings or I have to do something about this. Like there was no structure. Like, it was like a waste of my time. It's such a waste of my time.
Yeah.
So I emailed the lady who was the organizer, and I just said, hey, do you have a few minutes to talk? Because I thought, let me just give her some suggestions. I said, I wanted to talk about the meeting a little bit. And she's like, well, if you would just like to lead the meeting, you just go right ahead. She was like, snapping at me. And I'm like, so it was just though creating an agenda and a structure. And now like people are like, thank you so much. Like it's useful time. We stay on time. Everyone gets to participate. And they know what's coming next, right? Because the agenda helps them to know that. And if they have to leave early, they know what they're going to miss or whatever. But I do think we can't be afraid to step up and add some pointers to when meetings are going horribly wrong.
And what you said is actually something I would like us to really be aware of. And that is when we're not running the meeting, but we need some help with running the meetings. It's not always going to be, welcomed. She may have said that. She may have said, well, then in a snarky way, why don't you go ahead and run the meetings? Then you do it if you want to. We get that all the time too. People get defensive. So your ability to bring it up in a helpful way, but it's not always going to be well received. But the fact is, still bring it up because it needs it. Because if you're feeling it, you ain't the only one feeling it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's so true. And others might not have the courage, right? Or they might not even have the skill set to say, this meeting isn't going well, but I don't know how to change it, right? So for you to boldly step forward and say, let's remake this meeting, or let's make it more beneficial. So what are some of the things that you teach your clients, Michael, around this whole concept of having, building a meeting with purpose and building an agenda with purpose? What does that look like when you're training people up to do that well?
Well, oh my gosh, Amy, we may have to split this up to a couple of times together, because this is a great skill set that I think we can talk about a lot. In a nutshell, and we won't go too deep into this, but I definitely want to bring it up. There are two needs in every interaction. And then when you talk about interaction, in this case, we're talking about a meeting. And a meeting is different than a conversation at a water cooler, which is, hey, what's going on? And the conversation can go anywhere because that's the point of it. But a meeting has purpose. And a meeting, there is something we're trying to accomplish. Even if you're pulling me aside in the hallway saying, can I talk to you about this? That's a spontaneous meeting, but there's an agenda. There's something I'd like to do. And in that situation is just kind of take that in consideration when we talk about all the things we're going to talk about over the next couple of times we bring this topic up, because it's a meeting with purpose. And there are two needs in every interaction that I think deserve a focus of skill sets. And the first need of an interaction is that we get something done. So there's the practical need. Did we accomplish what we set out to do? Whether I'm running the meeting or not, did we accomplish something? But then meetings are run by people, and because it's a meeting, you've got people in it. So there's lots of things happening on the people side. So your skill sets on the people side really should be addressed too. How do you build involvement? How do you build consensus? How do you get people to be involved? Because I'm trying to create ownership, all those things. Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of skill sets, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Eddie. Hi.
What's up? How you doing?
You knew Mom was on the camera today. Did you want to say something? No?
Yep.
Can you ask Dad to help you, please? Okay. Okay. All right.
Yep.
You can grab something out of the snack box.
Can I get something in the snack box? I think that was a demonstration of most of our meetings. People are present.
Snack box, right?
They don't want to participate.
Yeah. Don't want to participate.
That was a nice demo. That was a nice demo of that. Absolutely.
Queued up perfectly.
Personal and practical.
Personal and practical, right? Right. Okay. Something that I find annoying at meetings, and I think as we've moved into this Zoom world of meetings, it's almost, I don't know, almost worse, is, you're at a meeting and maybe the meeting's small or big, doesn't matter how many people are there, but someone's on their phone or someone's doing something else on their notebook, and it's not just doodling. I get people who like to focus. They need to do a little, or they turn their camera off, like on a Zoom meeting, right? And so you're like, okay, all I see is their name there. Are they present? Are they even in their seat? Are they listening? Are they like, how do you capture attention when that happens, right? When they seem distracted, they aren't paying attention. And there might be reasons for that, right? Maybe they didn't need to be at the meeting. And so they're like, hey, why am I here? So I'm just going to, play on my phone or answer my emails or whatever.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let me back you up a little bit and look at the bigger picture. We can get deep.
Okay.
Very specific skill sets, which I think we'll do like 1 minute on the clock. Just some tips on making good meetings. Those types of things. What?
It's a morning over here. This is motherhood. I am listening to you as I'm opening up a candy cane. Let's just be honest. Yes. There you go. All right. Now you go get a sugar high and Mom will be done shortly.
I'll be done to play off the wall in a minute.
Okay. All right.
You should have that one.
Thank you so much for sharing. All right. We'll see you later, bud. Okay.
You should have these two. Mom
Okay.
have one.
Thank you. All right. So, wow.
Let me jump in here, Amy. I think what I wanted to demonstrate right there is I think one of the things that happens in our meetings is we get distractions all the time. People are in tornadoes all the time. And so, so what do? In that situation, you stop, you let them have a moment. You don't talk over it. You don't try to keep moving forward. You don't ignore it.
Right.
Things that are happening. So you let it happen and you enjoy the experience and watch and just celebrate some of the things that are going on there. And then you can get back on track. It's okay. It's like doing a presentation and you forget your words. What do? Don't panic. Stop. Go over to your notes, look at your notes, come back, and your audience forgets it like that, and you're back into the moment. So
that's a really good tip. That's a great tip.
Yeah, go with the flow. Absolutely go with the flow. I have meetings all the time where people have, they get distracted or pulled out, or they're trying to do two things at once, not because they're being rude necessarily. It's usually never nefarious. It's usually because there's something going on. So I have to recognize it and give them an option. Is this still a good time? Should we do this? So, let it go. Just kind of go with the flow. But I will give you a couple of good tips on just in general setting good meetings. Number one, does it have to be a meeting? Sometimes we're just overloaded with meetings. It's like when in doubt, get together and have a meeting. And that can be great, but it gets old. And sometimes my meetings get so filled, especially with this last 10 months with COVID, we're so burned out on, doing online that it's like, holy cow, do I have to have it? So the first real big tip is to make sure it's supposed to be a meeting. And here's how you know the difference.
Okay.
There's a reason why people get together and connect. And I'm talking about face-to-face. And even virtual, this is face-to-face. Because we have the camera and we have the audio, we have an opportunity to do something that is more powerful than the written word. Mm-hmm. So consider this. The written word has a purpose. And my eyes have about 1,000, I say this a lot, have about 1,000% more ability to gather information. So when I read something, I can get very detailed. And, I can go over it 3 times. I can get what I need to get out of it, all the detailed stuff. I can look at numbers and graphs and things like that. And my brain has the ability to look at that through my eyes, but my ears are very slow. So there's different reasons, there's different purposes. I can be more detailed and more data-driven in the written word. The spoken word has a different purpose, and it's usually emotional. It's buy-in, it's creativity, it's connection. Those are people type, feeling type words. So sometimes we have meetings to be data-driven, and that's why we're banging our heads on the monitor going, just kill me. Could you not put this in a memo? And that's the question I want you to ask is, couldn't you put this in a memo? Is there a way of getting buy-in, or at least letting me know that you got the information and you agree? Maybe I have to set up processes that say, I'm going to send this to you, read it, let me know, give me a checklist. So there's a different purpose for gatherings. That's my biggest point. Your meetings will go up in importance in people's hearts when you start to understand the reason why we're getting together is much more than transferring data. So we put in a little bit of fun. We put in buy-in. We put in collaboration. We put in those emotional things that make a meeting, and you'll find people going, okay, you're just not going to talk at me for an hour because you could have written that out and given it to me and I would have been just fine.
Yeah. I think
that's the biggest one.
That's great questions to ask. Does this have to be a meeting, right? Or could it be in a memo?
Please. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Why is this a meeting?
Yeah. Well, asking, and I know something you've taught me, and I tap into it often whenever I'm giving a presentation or, going on Facebook Live, or what is it I want at the end of the presentation or the meeting? What do I want to have happened, or where do I want to have moved them to, right? And to think about that maybe as a meeting too, right? What is the goal of the meeting?
Yeah, the question I ask is, when the smoke clears, what do I want them to do and what do I want them to feel? And both of those questions are important, because if you just have the first one, what do I want them to do? It could be a memo. You don't have to have a meeting. But if you have a strong answer to what do I want them to feel, if there's a big answer to that, well, I'm trying to build teams, I'm trying to build collaboration, I want some brainstorming, then that's a reason for a face-to-face, even if it's virtual. So asking those questions, what do I want them to do? What do I want them to feel? Gives purpose to the meeting. And people start to understand the purpose and importance of the meeting, especially if you articulate it at the beginning. So, with that in mind, the things in mind, if there's a reason why humans are getting together, virtual or face-to-face, and it usually has something to do with the feeling type of things. Now you can go look at the things that you just brought up. People aren't turning their cameras on. Is that okay? Well, look at the impact that it's having. If you're trying to build connection, then it's kind of important to have our cameras on. I get this a lot in business world. Some people, and there's kind of two frames of thought. Some people are saying don't force people to get on camera, and then I appreciate that. Different people. It's not a sexist thing, but it kind of is. Women are like, you know how much time this takes to put this on. Guys are like combing their hair. Hey, are we going? Are we on? So I get it. I totally get it. It takes a lot more effort, but the fact is, it's important.
Mm-hmm.
So, I with a couple of clients that I'm working with right now in the secular world, when they have a meeting with me, we've established the fact it's very important to have your cameras on. So if you need more time to prepare, but you will have your cameras on, and I will ask questions. And when you answer a question, you can't do it auditorial wise. You have to turn your camera on. And if you're going to answer, you have to have your camera on.
That's awesome.
And I'm not a sergeant about it, but they understand the purpose for it.
Yeah.
So we have fun with it. We have fun with the backgrounds. We have fun with, like interruptions like that. It's not a big deal. It's kind of fun, actually. I enjoy the break. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
I think one of the other things that, for years I've been, following you and listening to you, Mike, and I know you've talked a lot about like what our face tells us, right? Or tells other people. And I think one of the disadvantages of the whole mask piece right now for people is you can't see their whole face. And I think at a meeting, whether it's virtual or in person, I can tell a lot about watching a person's face, whether a word even comes out of their mouth or not, or if they are saying something, and seeing their body language along with those words tell me a lot more than it would have told me had I typed a memo to them, or had I not asked them to be in person at a meeting, right? Or had the conversation over the phone. Can you talk a little bit about that body language that everyone at the meeting is cueing into? And I guess I'm more sensitive being a leader and leading a lot of meetings. I don't know, it's kind of a skill set that I've had to learn about, kind of watching the room, right? And the body language that's in the room. See, exactly. What did I
say? I didn't say a word.
You're like, hey, Mr. Hoffman, what do you got to say? You don't look too happy about being here today.
Wow. Well,
that was going through my mind. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah. Did I just say that out loud? Well, actually, what we just demonstrated is exactly what you were talking about. It's, as humans, and this is why I think the mask thing is a little sinister, to be honest with you, because it's just one more thing that's separating people. Yeah. There's an old adage, which is actually a misinterpretation, believe it or not. I don't know if you've ever heard 92% of all your communication comes from everything surrounding your words. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah.
Words. It's an old statistic. It's actually misquoted. It's not an accurate quote. But the fact is that just by that demonstration, it's the majority of our interpretation of what I'm reading from you doesn't come from your words. So I call it paralanguage. I don't know if that's a real word or not, but it's been with me forever. Paralanguage is everything surrounds your word. It's your tone, it's your pace, it's your timing, it's your face, it's your body language. And so now we're working within this box. I've got to read into it even more. And that's a really important thing to consider, the difference between the written word and the spoken word, because our brains are constantly filling in intent. So, and that's the thing that gets us into trouble, is it's not that I misinterpret what you say, but I misinterpret your intent, and that changes everything. So if I'm reading your face, you see my face, I could have been having indigestion, but what your brain automatically fills in is something's wrong. I did something wrong. That's your brain trying to understand what's happening. So the thing that you have to understand as a leader is everybody does it. And here's something I want you to understand is it's either not positive or it's not accurate. So you have to be extra clear in how you're coming across. Yeah. Because our brains are constantly trying to fill in the intent of what you meant. So if I'm reading something, it's even worse, because I don't have any paralanguage. I just have words. So depending on how I'm feeling that day, depending on my mood, depending on our relationship, all kinds of things, I read into what you wrote. Well, in meetings, it's the same consideration. It's you're paying attention to people's face. That's why I'd really rather have you have your camera on, because I can't read into your buy-in. I can't read into your tone. I'm glad we're meeting online, because if one of my goals on the people side is connection and buy-in, then I've really got to pay attention to your tone. And that's why I'm going to do things like use involvement as a tool in my leadership during the meetings. I'm gonna prepare times when I ask questions. I'm gonna use your name to pull you into the conversation, because we've got a ton of people on this meeting. I want to make sure everybody's heard.
Yeah.
So I've got to do things on purpose to make sure you're pulled in, so that I can pay attention to your intent and through your paralanguage. So if I were to say, Amy, I think this is fine. Let's do it. I have to read into that, which means I can ask more questions, which means I can go,
Right.
let's not move forward so fast. Back up a little bit. What's going on?
Yeah.
Because our paralanguage is very important on the people side of a connection.
Yeah. You brought up something important in that little conversation there about asking questions and getting people involved in the meeting and whatever the topic is. How do you rein in someone who wants to do all the talking and have their opinion heard, and not maybe giving enough consideration to everyone around the table having an opportunity to give their thoughts and ideas and comments too? So is there some skill set we could do around that? And I'm going to close the door for the dog that's now barking.
So much distraction we got to deal with today. I think it's awesome. Like you're feeling better. Look at you laughing and everything.
Oh my gosh.
You need COVID laughter. That's what you need.
I know, I needed that. Okay, one moment. I'll get the dog settled.
Well, I'll keep talking then. There's a direct connection. I'll bring this up when Amy comes back, but here's just for you guys. There's a direct connection.
All right.
There's direct buy-in is tremendously important in one of the purposes of getting together. If we're trying to accomplish something in a meeting, then either consensus or buy-in, those are big goals. Involvement is one of your strongest tools as a leader to create buy-in. And there's a direct connection to, see if I can do this right. So there's a direct connection to involvement. The higher the involvement, the greater the commitment. So I mean, there are things where, there's lots of times in our grid here where I can't have involvement. Matter of fact, we've been given our walking papers and here's what we're going to do. We can always talk about how to accomplish it, but there's not a lot of involvement in creating our goals. Mm-hmm. But if I want commitment, there's a direct connection to the amount of involvement I have in creating that plan. So involvement is a very, very big tool in meetings. So whether it's pulling people in and getting their opinions, making sure we've got everything covered. I know when I'm working with a church, there's so many people and departments that have to be considered and need to be considered if I'm going to have people get behind this. We joke around a lot that in youth ministry, one of your greatest allies is the janitor.
Yep.
You got to get them on your side, man. Something. What can I possibly do? And have involvement when we're putting together things and what's needed. Otherwise, you burn bridges. It's not good. So involvement, asking people questions, asking for their insight. But you brought up something with that little tip. Sometimes we create monsters. Which, you want my opinion? Here it is. So I'll give you. Actually, I would want you to relish that, because what you've done is you've given yourself an opportunity to really have people talk. And if they feel the place is safe, if they feel you've created an environment where they don't have to agree, but they can give contribution. Oh my gosh, what a great thing to have. So don't lament over that. Let me give you some tips on how to control it. And I call it the 1-2 punch. You ready for this? Use it like a ninja. And if you need to gather control of somebody who's just been dominating, you jump in to rein in control. In other words, take back the floor. And the way you can do that is through a check for understanding. It's a little skill set that gives you, if you do it right, it gives you control of the floor. So if somebody's been talking for a minute and I got to jump in, wait for a break, wait for a breath. And sometimes for some people, they don't take breaths like me. So you wait for a break and you jump in and you go, now hang on a second. Let me see if I got this right. So what you're saying is, and by doing that, now I have control of the floor. So that's step one, is take control of the floor, and you do it by gently asking for a check for understanding.
Love that.
Now, I was going to know this technique that the people are going to go, I know what you're doing. And you do a check for understanding. So let me see if I got this straight. So you get the control of the floor again, and then you do a procedural suggestion. And that allows you to take it where you want to go. So you may say something like, so let me understand. So you're saying this, and this. Okay, I think that's really important because how about if we do this? Yeah. So before we move on, I want to make sure I get a couple other people to throw in their insights, because I thought that was a really great input that you brought in there, Steve. How about somebody else? Does anybody else have a thought?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I call it the 1-2 punch. You take control of the conversation, and then you do a procedural suggestion to move it to something else.
I like that.
I don't want to squelch.
Yeah.
But I do want to control sometimes, because otherwise we get dominance, and it's either dominating, there's no more time for anybody else to give a thought, or they've got such a strong opinion that nobody else has an opinion after that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's the challenge, right? And I think the flip side of that too is we oftentimes have people in our meetings, and this could even be a skill set for like leading a small group too, but who maybe are more timid, right? They don't want, they have probably amazing ideas to share and offer, but they're timid. And so how do you kind of coax out that person who isn't always the first one to jump up and maybe give a suggestion or their ideas or to weigh in on something?
Yeah, excellent. Well, let me just add on to what we were just talking about, which is that those two little skill sets are great for if I've got dominating people that, and not say dominating is I'm taking over, but just your opinions have a lot of weight. I might not want to start with them, because when they say something, that's the way everybody gets behind it, or this is the way we're going, whoever it is. So it's not always the pastor. Sometimes it's just dominating people that you know who they are. So sometimes what I like to do in the meeting is I'm going to say, so we're going to have a little discussion. And before we jump into this particular department, hold your thought. I really want you to listen, because I'd like to start off by hearing from some of the people I really want your opinion first, and then we're going to end with, so I'll set it up ahead of time. So we're going to start with this particular group, and then I'm going to have you, I want to end here. So be thinking about what that's saying, because I really want to hear your, so I'm very positive, lots of self-esteem, but I let people know before we get started, I'm coming to you. So get ready with an opinion. And we're going to end with you, because I love what you say, but I want you to listen to what's going on first. I mean, so set it up right. Using names is tremendously helpful when I have people that are shyer. And keep in mind, it might not be shy. It might just be their personality. Some people are more analytical, and they have to think before they speak.
Yeah.
So, and that's not a negative at all. As a matter of fact, usually, not everybody's like, me. And I think you got a little bit of this too, where it's like, I'll give you my opinion. I don't have to think about it. So I'll get there eventually. Let's just start talking. So, but some people, they think it through before they open their mouths. And so I want to recognize those personalities in my meetings and give them a heads up. Tiffany, I really want your opinion. And so we're going to be talking about this. So let's get it started. But, when you're ready, I really want to hear your opinion. Or if they haven't given, I want to note it and say, listen, before we end this conversation, Tiffany, I really want your opinion on that. So feel free to chime in anytime. And I'll be coming to you in about a minute or so. I'll say things like that. But what I do is I establish the fact that everybody is going to give and has an opportunity to give.
Yeah.
And I am calling your name. I'm coming to you. So buckle up.
Get ready.
Yeah. And your answer may be, no, I really don't have anything on that time, which is totally valid. But I want to have you have an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you also bring up an interesting point about how people process information in order to give an opinion or to give a suggestion on solution. I know I've had a particular staff member over the years, wonderful, amazing woman. But she needed time to process. So what I what I learned to do is if I really wanted the meeting to be productive to move towards a solution on something, I would put the question out ahead of time. Hey, we're going to be discussing X, Y, and Z, and here are options in front of us. And I'd like you to all weigh in on it. So she would have the time to do her research, to mull over the question and come up with some ideas. What are your thoughts about that kind of process in setting up a meeting?
The more you can give me a heads up, the better. We don't always have that opportunity because meeting's coming up, and my tornado's been huge this week. So I'm just glad you're coming. I might not have thought through the agenda, but we're starting in 5 minutes. So but the more heads up you can give me, especially when there's some discussion to have around planning, coming up with an action plan too. ... The more heads up you can give me, the better, because I'll be better prepared for you.
Yeah,
and I'll think through, even if it's just, hey, we're going to be talking, here's an agenda. If you can give me an agenda ahead of time, that would be great, because and even ask me, I'm going to be looking for your opinions in these particular areas. So anything, whether it's positive or negative, or any ahas or things to watch out for, the more you give me time to set up, the better. That's a great habit to get into, especially if they're regular.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at the regular meetings. Awesome. Well, I think that we have just kind of scraped the top of the iceberg here related to meetings and having productive meetings, and having meetings that people want to come to, right? That they don't go, oh, I dread this meeting because it takes too long, or, all of the negative voices, and some from experience, right? These are not voices that just came from nowhere. In closing, I'm putting you on the spot here. What's an idea, or maybe something you've done at a meeting? Because I know you're about fun. You like the fun factor to be pretty high. And so what's maybe something you've done at a meeting that brought some fun into it, engaged people, and got them, I don't know, laughing either on the front end or in the middle, and you got creative with something?
Actually, I appreciate you saying that, but it's not about being funny.
No,
it's about having a good time. I'm actually glad we got together, and I like to laugh. I will tell you this: you don't have to be a jokester to have play.
Yeah.
If you're smart, remember the goal of getting together as humans is connection. So make sure you set aside 5 minutes, 10 minutes, especially in the beginning, to say, hey, before we get started, here's the question of the day. And or there's a show and tell. So here's the topic of show and tell. I love show and tell. So it's basically, they know that before we get to the meeting, we're not doing this necessarily to be silly, but because we work with each other, and so we always have a part of the agenda and it's timed, because otherwise we can get off track. But it's timed, but it's purposeful. It's some sort of connection, whether it's 3 truths and a lie. We're not doing everybody, but we are doing Barbara today. So those 3 truths and a lie, and they have a heads up about that.
Yeah.
So it's just something that brings a little joy to the meeting. So it's not just headbanging information. One more thing on my plate I got to live through.
Right.
And that will bring a little bit of happiness. If anything, I appreciate coming to there, because I know we're going to at least smile. People are getting together, people. Yes. So make it a little bit of joy,
Awesome. We have to have joy. All right. So we're going to come back and talk more about meetings. And Michael's going to give us an outline to have a purposeful and productive meeting next time we meet. And that is going to be in April. I had the date in front of me just a minute ago. I need April 7th. April 7th. Next week, we have Annie Grandel with us, and she's going to be talking about something new with Why Disciple. So we're excited about that. And she is great, isn't she? And and next week's already Holy Week. Wow. Lent is just zipping us by here.
Wrapping up Lent.
I know.
How are you different? Are you different at the end of Lent? Are you have you grown at all? Have you gotten stronger? Have you had some things illuminated to yourself on your walk with the Lord? Lent's wrapping up. What we get?
Great questions. All right. So go out there and have amazing meetings. Like, be the person everyone wants to come to your meetings, right? Like, woo, Michael's leading a meeting. We got to be there.
Yeah.
All right. God bless everyone. Thanks for watching today. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, Michael. Bye.